Good afternoon, good afternoon again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We are going back to that horrible world known as the JRC, but before we do, the usual disclaimers and fingers crossed for me. I'm either going to be fired or I am still going to be under Damocles' sword, but it will be a new month. Good vibes would be definitely appreciated. If you are unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, you're going to find all the pertinent links right there in the description box. Please, in particular, take note of the article written by NeuroClastic, a small non for profit started by autistics for autistics. In it, they interviewed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so called behavior modification program. The Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read that article so much. They threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic refused, so you know the drill. Please read the article. Share on all your social media. Also included in there is NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding just in case the JRC ever actually does see through with their threat. Trigger warning 1, where we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center and Agape Boarding School for Boys. You're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please make sure to go ahead and utilize those headphones. Trigger warning 2, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously parental supervision is very much advised. All right, folks, where we left off the other day, in analyzing the state of the art in a device ban, the agency assesses the risks of the device being banned relative to the risks of other treatments used in current medical practice for the same purpose. Layman's terms, although I think that's pretty clear here, we're saying what are the risks of the GED device as compared to the risks to the other programs that don't include violence against our persons, right? Positive behavioral treatment techniques have a very low risk profile, and FDA did not receive any comments suggesting otherwise. There's still an argument to be made in regards to the psychological risks of ABA. What they are considering low risk is because of the fact they feel like with treatments that are not quite as extreme, that there's probably going to be less risk. The thing is, though, folks, that's not the case. Because the psychological abuse and mind fuckery that goes on in ABA is still there. And it can every bit fuck with your head just as much as physical abuse does. All right? I'm going to argue that. I will argue that until I'm dead and buried. Sorry, not sorry. But in comparison, if we're talking about physical danger, I mean, even that has its arguments against ABA and how they handle things. But in comparison to what they do as opposed to what the JRC does, it's again comparing apples and a fully loaded double trailer semi truck going down I 44 at full speed. Okay? These are not the same things, though they do cause the same type of psychological damage. Because whether it's psychological mind fuckery or somebody is literally shocking me repeatedly just below the lethal limit, it's still abuse. And again, I will cite it's insane how high suicide risk is for adult autistics, folks. Don't let anyone fool you with terms like low risks and think that there's not repercussions down the line, especially when the medical model insists on doing everything incorrectly. Let's continue to read. The only risk that the FDA found to be associated with positive behavioral treatments is one posed by extinction, a common component in behavioral plans. Again, this is the abuse. This is the mind fuckery, and it's actually prevalent through ABA. Okay, let me explain it to you. So you're going to essentially take away a kid's toy because of behavior that they had due to their diagnosis. And now you're going to make them earn back an item they already owned so that they'll deserve it. Does it sound insane to you? Because it sounds insane and like child abuse to me. Right? Not to mention, you don't do this usually to your neurotypical teens. You don't go to your neurotypical teen and say, you have to earn the right to wear the clothes you want to wear today, do you? Of course you don't. Why are you doing it to us? I would really like that question answered someday, because behavioral techniques is never, ever, 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 ever going to change who I am. I am autistic. I'm going to have autistic tendencies because of a well put together and well carried out treatment program. I am able to not only function, but actually thrive. Okay? Thrive because of the treatment program that I went through and I'm still a part of. Right? What they're talking about here would have built nothing up but resentment and anger, self hatred. It You can't change a person into being more neurotypical by behavior modification, because the behavior is the symptom, not the cause. Right? So, what are we supposed to be learning here? Because there are going to be moments in time throughout our lives with that it doesn't matter how good you are at masking or how much you've so called replaced with better behaviors, it's going to happen. Okay? Which means your mind fuckery is nothing more than abuse for abuse's sake. Any sane person looking at this would have to conclude the same. You can't change brain chemistry with behavior modification. Okay? Let's continue, shall we? The only risk that the FDA found to be associated with the positive behavioral treatments is one posed by extinction, which we've gone over that. Extinction exhibits the potential risk of extinction bursts, an upsurge of the actual undesirable behavior, particularly manifested in the early stages of the intervention. I'll say this again. First of all, it is still batshit insane that you all want to induce behavior and then punish it so that we know that is wrong. Because it's insane. That is insane. Who the hell came up with that idea? A sociopath? A psychopath with a huge lean on sadism? Or sadism, sorry. God's sake. Just saying. Let me put it bluntly to you. When you are abused, you react in many different ways depending on the situation. Many of us who have been through it will, hear me on this, will often have some of our worst traits come flying out of us. And it's something that is completely and utterly beyond our control to be able to stop at that point. Okay? It's not an extinction burst. It's not something, well, it always happens and then it gets better. You ever ask yourselves why? Neurotypical medical model. Have you ever asked yourselves why? But then the behavior goes away, so everything is better, right? Better for who? Better for who? I need the screaming duck emoji. Better for who? Better for who? Certainly not me. Yeah. When I tell you our entire service system needs a drastic overhaul, I've been saying that for over 20 goddamn years. Okay? Let's continue, shall we? The behavioral therapist would have to use a different treatment plan component to accomplish the same objective. However, extinction bursts would be easily recognized and quickly mitigated by competent therapists. And just fucking hear me out on this here. Stop trying to mind rape us. Stop trying to force us to mask. Stop shoving how inadequate you think we are down our throats on the damn daily. Quit living in this imaginary world where you think you're accomplishing anything with behavior modification other than teaching us how to mask out of necessity. And guess what? But the behaviors go away when you're masked, Tiff. Isn't that good? Would you like to be forced to pretend to be somebody else every time you walk out your door every day for the rest of your life? Be honest with me. Does that sound like a fun time to you? It's not. It's exhausting. It's draining and it's beyond psychologically damaging, okay? Stop with the mind fuckery. Stop with the mind raping. Stop with this pseudo brainwashing nonsense, okay? For the love of God, you've had at least 3 generations tell you the same damn thing, and still here we are. However, with respect to SIB and AB, positive behavioral treatment alternatives permit much lower risks than ESD, supporting the conclusion that the risk posed by ESDs are unreasonable. Duh! Regardless with how fucked up ABA is and the mind fuckery that they like to call treatment is, at the end of the day, they're not shocking people into catatonia. You're going to have a lot less risk of that if you just do ABA with the psychological insanity instead of being hooked onto a human shock collar. Kind of goes without saying, doesn't it? And we're going to go ahead and close out on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So, folks, you know the drill. Please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments. I appreciate your time. And as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I'll see you again in a few minutes. Bye bye, everyone.